So last week I put up a video saying that you guys could vote on what watch I wanted next, or I should get next. The choices were the Atomics, large print, what I consider to be large print, radio controlled wristwatch, and this is a no frills wristwatch. It's got 24-hour time, it's got world time, but it's got no alarms, it's got no hourly chime, it's got nothing like that, and it's very easy to set and to work with. The other choice was the De Tomaso Classic Man, single hand, 24-hour watch. The De Tomaso won out by a narrow margin. It's so narrow, in fact, that I have decided that I'm going to get the Atomics at a later date. For two reasons. One, I do miss having a simple no-frills watch, and two, I would like to see about recycling that metal band that I have on a Solar Talking Atomic watch. You can take a look at the video for that one. The watch has failed. The solar cell is no longer keeping an adequate charge if it's away from light. So, what I'm thinking is, since the strap is still good, I'll just get this and swap out the strap. But again, that's going to be for a later date. For those of you that won regarding the De Tomaso, I have a rather interesting statement to make. You guys won with your acknowledgement of the 24-hour concept and that it would be unique. But the De Tomaso is not what I picked up. The reason is because, if we take a look here at the dial, midnight is at the 12 o'clock position. That means your daylight hours are going to be right around here, and they're going to be printed upside down. So you can see how that would be a little strange. The hand is a little thicker than what I got, but to be honest, I like what I got considerably better. It was the same price as the De Tomaso, $99, although they did skim me on the shipping a little bit. I'll explain that in a moment. But this is, the idea is that it's going to represent an entire day at a glance. Now, here's the thing. For those of you that live in Australia or the Southern Hemisphere, this would be perfect because the daylight hours are in the south, are on the southern portion of the dial. But I live in the Northern Hemisphere, and one of the things that I was looking for in a single-hand 24-hour movement was that I wanted the hand to mimic the movement of the sun so that at a glance I could tell, okay, it's mid-afternoon, it's mid-morning, it's high noon, it's mid-afternoon, it's early evening. Like, for instance, right now it's just after 12 o'clock. Notice that I didn't say 12:05 and 10 seconds. I said just after 12 o'clock. And that's the point. The fact that the sun is now roughly at its highest point in the sky. Yes, I know that the actual movement of the Earth can cause that to be a bit off, and that the exact time might not be, 12 noon for the highest point, because it would have to be the equinox in order for that to happen. But sticking with the concept, right now it's just after high noon, right about midday. Okay? And I can see on the dial, without even having to think about it, that I have been up since 9 o'clock this morning, so I've been up now for 4 hours. And yesterday I got to bed around 1 o'clock in the morning. And I also got up around 9 a.m., which means that I've been up for 15 hours, and I can tell that without even thinking about it because I have my entire day at a glance. For those of you who commented that the De Tomaso would be unique for its one-handed 24-hour concept, you are correct. Most people have not seen this, including the jeweler that I ended up taking what I did get to. I'll explain in just a second, because now it's time for the reveal. This is it. I got the Nomad CM1 2513. This is a limited edition, but the limited edition is not the reason I got this watch. The reason I got this watch has to do with the fact that this is a sundial for your wrist. You can think of it as such. High noon at the top, in the daylight, midnight at the bottom, nighttime. It follows the sun within the northern hemisphere. That is a beautiful concept, to be able to take a glance at your watch and have an approximation of the time of day, not just the hours, but also the time of day as far as being, again, high noon, 3 o'clock would be mid-afternoon, 6 o'clock would be early evening, that sort of thing. And an approximation is the key word because you see dots and notches. Each line represents a half hour. Each dot represents 10 minutes. So right now, I'm taking a look at the watch, and it is roughly between 5 and 10 minutes past 12. We take a look here. We see 12:07. Again, because these little notches represent 10 minutes, there's no way to know exactly where the watch is. So on to the story about the jeweler. Basically, what ended up happening was the watch arrived a couple days ago with a near-dead battery. And I know this because the ticking was erratic and the hand wouldn't move at all. Now, when I say most people haven't seen this, that includes the jeweler who I took this to. And they had to take a look at it and tinker with it for about an hour to realize that, hey, it really was the battery. Now, I'm not blaming, you guys, if you're watching this, you did a fantastic job. As I said before in the video, most people have not seen these watches. In fact, most people staring at it would be like, huh? What? But I think the idea is the watch hand also moves at an extremely slow rate. The most famous pioneer of this concept in modern times would be the slow watch of Switzerland. And they have put together truly immaculate pieces, and one of these days I might go ahead and get one. But I got this because I wanted to see if a 24-hour watch was for me. And also, again, thank you guys for voting. Your votes have been answered. I know this is not exactly the model you wanted, but the main commentary had to do with the concept of the 24-hour piece versus the actual watch itself. So that's why I went with this. The idea is to approximate time. And again, like I said, slow has been a major pioneer in modern times of the concept. They've really taken off. The problem is that their watches run around $270 to $330, which at the moment is a bit steep for me. One of these days it may be within my range. Notice I didn't say cheap. This is, for what it is, the cheapest that I've seen. It's $99. They did skin me on the shipping. But in addition to the battery, I also needed to swap out the band. The reason is because the leather band is not a good fit for me. I needed something a little bit thicker because I've got a very small wrist. So we got a polyurethane leather-stitched black band that I think fits this very nicely. That is my wrist that the watch is now sitting on. So the other reason I got this was more to do than just with your votes. It also has to do with the concept of approximating time as opposed to being exact. Seeing your entire day at a glance, forcing you to slow down and think. Okay? While I was away at my summer house, a yoga instructor whose class I attend and they are also a wonderful friend of mine, they talked to us about surrendering to the present moment. Being here, being present, because the past is already past, and the future has not yet happened. And if you think about it, you slow down to think, the passage of time is very gradual. Okay? So, surrendering to the present moment, the present situation that you are in, and letting go of what does not serve us. Similarly, my advisor this past spring said that the PhD is not a race to the top. It is not about chasing deadlines. It is about fulfilling your experience by growing connections, publishing worthy documents, research, learning as you go. Okay? That too signifies living in the present moment. So again, like I said, I went ahead and thank you again for your votes. Those of you that picked the De Tomaso have won out, but for those of you that picked the Atomics, don't worry. Again, I will be getting it at a later date. I just don't know exactly when. So again, this is a 24-hour dial, single-hand watch. You can think of it as a sundial for your wrist. So during the daylight hours, the hand follows the movement of the sun, and all of us humans on this earth orbit that sun. So, if we take a look here at our dial, this half represents the daylight hours. Early morning, mid-morning, and for those of you who cannot see, 6 o'clock is at the 9 o'clock position, 9 o'clock is at the 10 o'clock position. So you get the idea. So mid-morning, high noon, mid-afternoon, early evening, late evening roughly, start of a new day, very early in the morning. Okay? So an entire day on your wrist, and it follows, like I said before, you can think of it as a sundial. Right now the watch is showing that it is roughly 12:15, and notice I said roughly, because each of the little notches again represents 10 minutes, so it's impossible to get an exact reading. But that's the point. Rather than chasing the seconds and minutes, this type of watch signifies living in the moment and showing us, again, how gradual the passage of time really is. And of all the watches in my collection, I feel that this one sends the deepest message. Slow down, surrender to that which is present, and don't worry about chasing time, because you will surely miss precious moments that cannot be repeated. On that same vein, you have to wonder, 12 or 24-hour time. Me personally, I like 24-hour time because you have 24 hours in a single day. You have 24 hours in a single revolution of the Earth. The actual exact time is give or take a few minutes. But again, this watch represents going against the grain of being exact. And the United States, in civilian terms, and I stress in civilian terms, the United States and only a couple of other countries, I think Canada might be one of them as well, are the only countries that I know of that use 12-hour time exclusively. I believe the United Kingdom swaps back and forth rather easily between the two notations. Me personally, I like 24-hour time, and I wish it was used more exclusively here in the United States, nay, all over the world. That's why I refer to it as global time, because it represents the actual movement of the globe. But this is it. This is the watch that I picked up, and I will be getting the Atomics at a later date. For those of you wondering, I did give the other G-Shock, the white one, to my relative, and they were completely speechless and were extremely happy with it. So, let's live in the present moment and cherish what is. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.